The greatest regret of my life stemmed from a single moment of weakness, one that altered everything forever. That moment culminated in receiving the divorce papers, a day that shattered my world. I woke up to an empty bed beside me, his presence, his scent, his laughter, and his voice. All the things I had cherished were gone. In the 14th year of our marriage, I lost the man I had loved deeply for so long. How could one brief mistake lead to such devastating consequences? Let me share my story with you. Before I delve into it, if you'd like to avoid making life-altering mistakes like mine, please subscribe to my channel. By sharing stories like these, we can uncover valuable lessons together. Don't forget to share your thoughts and support the channel by liking this video. Now, let's begin. My husband and I are both 36 years old. We've been together for 16 years, married for 14, and we share two beautiful daughters, aged 13 and 12. 3 months ago, I made a terrible decision, one I regret with all my heart. I cheated on my husband with a coworker. It was a one-time mistake, but even now, I struggle to understand the true reason behind my infidelity. On the surface, it felt like my husband was too focused on his work, leaving me feeling neglected and unappreciated. But deep down, I know that wasn't the real cause. I'm trying to uncover the truth through individual therapy. Our story began in college, where we met and became inseparable almost instantly. He was my best friend, my soulmate, the love of my life. Together, we built a life full of dreams, adventures, and laughter. When our daughters were born, our bond only grew stronger. We faced every challenge side by side, supporting each other through the ups and downs. But as the years passed, the pressures of work and parenting took a toll on us. Conversations grew less frequent, intimacy faded, and the connection we once shared seemed distant. I longed for the affection and attention that had come so naturally in the beginning. Then a coworker began showing me attention. It felt like a brief escape from the loneliness that had settled in my heart. That momentary escape, however, became my greatest regret. It was a terrible mistake, one I made only once, and the guilt consumed me immediately. I confessed to my husband the very next day because I couldn't live with the shame. At first, he was shocked, then deeply hurt and angry. He called me every name imaginable, and I knew I deserved it. In his eyes, I had destroyed everything we'd built together. I explained everything, from how the flirting had started innocently to how it had spiraled into something far worse. I ended all contact with the coworker immediately and handed my phone to my husband, showing him everything in an attempt to be fully transparent. If I could turn back time, I would do anything to undo that moment of weakness. Every day, I grapple with the consequences of my actions, and the loss of the life we shared weighs heavily on me. I was willing to do whatever it took to regain his trust. I told him I understood if he couldn't forgive me, and if he wanted a divorce, I would accept it. Still, I poured my heart out, expressing my deep regret for hurting him. I promised I would do everything in my power to rebuild what we had. My husband is not the kind of person to easily offer second chances. Even in friendships, once trust is broken, it's hard for him to repair it. He told me he wanted a divorce, but then something unexpected happened. We spent 2 months at home together with the divorce looming over us. The first month was cold and distant, filled with silence. We only spoke about our daughters, and I slept on the couch to give him the space he needed. Occasionally, I reminded him that if he ever wanted to work things out, I was fully committed. But he often said hurtful things, pushing me further away. Then, in the second month, something changed. He started talking to me again about small, everyday things. We even watched movies with the girls. It felt like a tiny sign, a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, he was open to reconciliation. I was cautiously optimistic, thrilled at the possibility of saving our family. Slowly, we began to act like friends again. Then one night, he invited me back into our bed. It felt like a fresh start, like we could rebuild something new together. I reminded him that I was here for him, that we could talk about anything. For a few weeks, things seemed to improve. We spent time together as a family, growing closer in a way we hadn't for months. I started feeling hopeful, but there was one thing I regretted deeply. I never suggested marriage counseling. I didn't bring up the need for professional help, thinking we could figure it out on our own. One night, everything shifted. We were in our bedroom, talking and reconnecting over drinks. It felt so genuine. We laughed, shared a moment of happiness, and looked into each other's eyes. I felt like we were falling in love again. In that moment, I made a mistake that I would regret forever. I leaned in, straddled him, and kissed him. For a brief moment, it felt passionate and exciting, like we were young again. But then I noticed his eyes filling with tears. He pushed me away, asking me to stop. That's when it hit me, how deeply I had hurt him. I apologized, but I could see the pain in his face. That night, I truly believed I had lost him forever. 2 days later, he told me he wanted to proceed with the divorce. Despite everything we had shared in those 2 months, he said he couldn't make it work. I was devastated, but I told him I understood. We had already discussed fair terms for the divorce, and now it seemed final. He went on a work trip, and we agreed to split time with the girls. I helped him pack, and we hugged, both of us crying. When he returned, I was happy to see him, but something had changed. The warmth was gone. We made small talk, exchanged polite smiles, and then he took the girls. That was the last time we spoke like we used to. Today, I received the divorce papers. The pain is unbearable. I've lost my best friend, the person I love more than anything, because of my own foolishness. I miss him deeply. I miss his laugh, his presence, and the way he could light up a room with his joy. The hardest part is knowing that I hurt the person I loved most in the world. I wish I could undo the pain I caused, but I can't. Now, all I have are these words, written in a desperate attempt to make sense of it all. I would give anything for another chance to show him how sorry I am and how committed I would be to making things right. But I know that chance is gone. I love him more than anything, and yet I've lost him for good.